You're listening to the Practical Wealth Show with Curtis May.
All right, guys, welcome to another episode of the Practical Wealth Show. So today I have Mr. Tenny Tolofari. He is the co-founder of Xsite Capital Investments, LLC. And so let me tell you about Tenny. So it's funny. So if you check, it was about a few weeks ago, we actually interviewed his partner, Leslie. And so I wanted to get the other side of this dynamic duo on the show because they have different perspectives. But prior to establishing Xsite Capital Investment in 2019, Tenny spent several years leading a major sales force at one of the fastest growing financial services companies in America. He also has a global security professional support, Boeing and Deloitte. Tenny met his business partner, Leslie Awasom, in 2019. Together, they invested in a 192 apartment project, 219 apartment complex. And as limited partners are on track to acquire, hear this, guys, over 500 units in 2020. Tenny's major role is in building relationships with brokers, property management companies, and investors to ensure their property investment business. Tenny, welcome to the Practical Wealth Show.
Thank you very much, Curtis. I do appreciate you having me today.
Yeah, my pleasure. So, Tenny, tell them what I didn't tell them. Tell me a little about where you're from and how you got into this space.
Absolutely. Well, I want to first of all thank you for having me and a great platform for a lot of listeners to learn. Yeah, I had an opportunity to get into the space in 2019 when I met my partner, Leslie Awasom, like you had mentioned. But prior to that, I came to the United States in 2010 for grad school. Graduated in 2012 with my cybersecurity degree. And since then, I was working in the corporate world until 2016 when I opened up when I started doing financial services. And that's the process that I met Leslie through his wife, and our journey started from there.
Okay, cool. And so were you investing in real estate or anything like that before you got started?
No, I follow Robert Kiyosaki, his philosophy, where he says he has this cash flow quadrant, where he talked about the S, the E, the B, and the I. And he said if you want to be wealthy, you want to be in the B and in the I quadrant. All right. So I've always been in the E quadrant. At one point, I wanted to go to the S quadrant. And then I realized that in order for me to be wealthy, I have to be in the B and the I quadrant. So I started the financial services business to build a business. The B is build the business. And then what was missing in what I was doing was to transition to the I. And the I, which is invest in real estate, precious metals, and a whole bunch of different alternative investments. So I knew that I was missing the investment piece of it. The only property I had at that time was my residence where I was living at. Okay. So as I met Leslie and I see that he's been doing real estate investment, I said, man, this is the missing piece that I've been looking for my financial life and financial growth and wealth growth. So, we started talking about businesses and we started talking about real estate. And then from there, our journey started. We decided to open up Xsite Capital to focus on multifamily. Of course, I can give you some background on why we made that decision as we continue.
And so, because most people don't start out with, let me get 192 property, get 500 units. They're like, let me flip this house, so Correct. You start out thinking like an I from the get-go. What caused you to think that way? And because a lot of people are afraid. They think, well, I got to grow to that, and they're afraid to start there. What you think kept you from? I mean, you might have been afraid, but you did it anyway. What? Tell us about your psyche there.
Good question. One thing about me, to be honest, I'm not really scared about anything.
Okay.
I think that played a good role in the whole conversation. But what we did when we started was to expose ourselves to all the different sectors in real estate. We went to different seminars and events that has to do with flipping, wholesaling, buy and hold, hacking a house. We explored all these different options. We call them house hacking. We looked at things that have to do with mobile home parks, assisted living. We were just doing different research And out of everything we saw, multifamily was one of the one that stood out to us. And we saw that could be a vehicle for we to grow our financial wealth and then, of course, help other people as well. Some of the advantages that it brings is a lot of people that we've seen around ourselves that does real estate investment, they cry about managing the property. They cry about dealing with tenants. They cry about going to the houses and doing maintenance and all that stuff. But multifamily, the way it's structured when it comes to syndication is you hire a professional property management company that take care of every day-to-day operations of the property. All you have to do as an owner or as a syndicator is to manage the managers. So when we saw that and we looked at the number of units you need to have in order for you to afford a property manager, it made a lot of sense to us. So we decided to go big. So we said, if we're going to do this, why do we want to do small, stay small if we can go big? Right. All we need to do is expand our horizon, expand our mind, expand our network, and we'll be able to achieve that. And I think we're doing that right now.
That's major.
Yep.
That you got to expanding his vision, his network. Because what would you say? Robert Kiyosaki says, I know you read that the number one skill of an entrepreneur is raising capital.
Yep.
It seems like for your business and syndication, that is like the thing.
Absolutely. And the way you look at it is, the way I look at it and the way we look at it in our company is, if everybody like me that was thinking about investing in real estate wants to do real estate, want to buy real estate and get the benefit of real estate, which is maybe cash flow and having property for their family or having equity on the property, if they want to benefit from real estate and they don't have the time or they don't have the tolerance to deal with tenants, how can we alleviate that pain? Yes. Because remember, if you're able to give people value and alleviate some of their pain, you'll be profitable. So we said, okay, if we can go ahead, look for the property, look for the deal, look for the team, help manage the property and all that stuff, and still give individuals returns that they're looking for, give them assets that they can see and touch and feel real estate. Yeah. It's a win-win situation for everybody. So with that is the message we're sending to the community, to let people understand that you don't have to deal with the day-to-day operation of a real estate property in order to benefit from what it gives or the benefit that real estate provide. Mm-hmm. That's what the syndication is all about. That's
because a lot of people have the or money in because they can use for example, they could use, for example, I'm sure you get capital from like self-directed IRAs.
Correct.
And right now I'd rather have it in what you're talking about than in a mutual fund. Right? With all this stuff. And see, so those are the things that you've got to begin to expose yourself to, guys, as you hear this. What are the common mistakes that you found that people make when they get started in multifamily investing?
I think one of them is not educating yourself, and another one is not putting yourself out there, right? You cannot be in obscurity and be known. The idea, when you conceive the idea that you want to do this thing, you need to let people know about it. You need to start letting people know that I'm doing this. I'm doing this, not necessarily for them to invest you right away, but for them to kind of start seeing that you're doing something. And actually, they can, with you discussing it with a lot of people, they actually kind of hold you accountable. Sometimes the influence of other people make you accountable for what you're doing. So you don't want to be in obscurity. So you want to talk to people more. What we've observed that a lot of people don't have conversation with their friends, their family until they need them. And when they need them, at that point, they don't have a background context of what you've been doing. At that time, it's kind of new. They're like, I don't have $50,000 to give to you right now. Like, I don't understand that you've been doing this for a while. So that's one mistake that we made. And I think we'll fix that. And we're working towards making sure that a lot of people that are trying to do this same thing, they don't make that mistake. Immediately you start doing it and you know that your desire is this is what you want to do. I think you want to start networking. You want to start putting it out there to your family and friends for them to know that you're doing this.
That you're doing it, right.
Educate yourself. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. But you don't want to depend on them, so you have to grow your network beyond them.
Correct.
But yeah. So dispel the myth for me. I know you've heard the myth, if you find the deal, the money will come. What's your feeling on that?
So I look at it like this, right? If you go to the market, right, and you want to buy something, before you even go to the market, you have your card and there's money in there.
Mm-hmm.
You cannot just go to the market now, the money is just going to magically appear.
Right.
It doesn't work like that, right? It's the same thing with real estate. When you look at it, so of course, some people, if they've built a good amount of network, if they have a reasonable network, that could be possible, right? It's not for an average person that, just don't have a lot of network, don't have a lot of people around them that don't have a lot of money. It's for people that have high network, have high network in their environment, people that they can call and say, hey, listen, I found this deal. It's a great deal. Give me $1 million. And they're like, yeah, you go to check. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it doesn't work. You have to build relationship, let people know what you're doing, let them know the potential investment involvement in these things. And when the time comes, they might be willing to work with you, right? So a lot of times, we actually ran into that problem where we had a great deal in a good location. And at that point, when we started reaching out to people, say, hey, listen, we have this deal. We were like, dude, this is the first time you're telling me this. Like, I don't understand what you're saying. When did you start doing real estate? When did you start doing multifamily? And you're asking me for $50,000. Dude, are you sure you're not about to scam me?
Right.
So what we try to advise people is start building your relationship with people, start letting people know what you do, so that when the time is right and you find a deal, the money is already there. Right. Let's say if you have, at that point, you have maybe 100 people in your database that you can reach out to say, hey, listen, I found this amazing deal. Right now, at that time, you will be the one like, no, I don't want your money. I want this person's money. You'll be selective at that point. Yeah. So you don't want to be desperate, but you want to, provide awareness before you have a deal. That's my philosophy.
Okay. No, that makes a lot of sense. And so plus you are building a track record, like letting them know what you've done. Here's here is the deals, here's the before and after, here's the return that we've provided for people. I guess now that you've got a deal or two of some deals under your belt, you can just kind of show you're a performer of what you've done or a performer of the deal you're looking at.
Correct. And you don't have to let that hold you back, right? Because
you got to get your first deal first. So talk
exactly.
About that. Yeah.
A journey of a mile starts with the first step, right? A lot of people, they think about, like I had a limiting belief at one point, like, oh my God, how would people take me seriously if they don't see me that I have a deal, right?
Right.
But if I had that hold me back, we would not be here today having this conversation, right? So I always encourage people, don't let that hold you back. If you want to do it, just start. The universe, understands and puts us here for a reason. And if those thoughts come to your head, you're not just manufacturing it. There's a reason why it's coming to your head. And all you need to do is just take action and just follow that direction. And things are just going to work out somehow, So it's
I
good
agree
to have track record.
Keep moving. Yeah, as long as you keep moving and towards your goals. And the universe will work it out so that they'll happen. As long as you're, you got to have accurate thinking. Like, it's not like people talk about the secret and you just, want it and it'll manifest itself. That's not what he's saying. Okay. You've done some numbers, you've done some homework. And so one of the things that you talk about, that your major role is building relationships out in the marketplace with brokers, with property managers, talking about, how do you go about building? Because honestly, if you can't bring the money to the table, they don't want to talk to you, right?
Absolutely.
And so talk about that, your experience with starting to do that, and what your relationship is like now.
Some of the success that I've had is the psychology of relationship, which is adding value to people and people seeing you that you're somebody that's serious, right? The relationship we've built in the market that we're interested in is we just reaching out to brokers, because brokers are the guys that the sellers of the property reach out to help them market. They're like real estate agents, right? And what we do, reach out to them and say, hey, my name is Tenny. I'm interested in buying properties in your market. How long have you been in that market? Just try to have a conversation with them. And sometimes people just go and say, hey, listen, I want off-market deal. I want this, I want this, I want this, I want this, right? A lot of people call them to make those same requests, right? So what's different between you and everybody else? I think the only thing that you could do that can differentiate yourself is to show people that you're organic, you are an individual that's interested, and be transparent. We had a broker recently that was referred to us through a property management company that is in one of our market, and they sent us a deal that's bigger than the scope of what we're doing right now. So what I did is I reached out to them. I said, hey, listen, at this point, our business plan is not to acquire this kind of property that you sent to us. This is where we are at. So at that point, I'm showing them, if you send me things that are like this, that might not be good. Let's focus on the things that, we are capable of taking down right now. That way they see that I'm honest. They see that, I want to do business, and we can continue to build that relationship. And in that process, I say, hey, listen, I would like us to get on the call for you to meet my whole team. Let's get on the call so that I can introduce you to my other partners, and we can have conversations, right? Another example I can give is you try to find out exactly what those guys are interested in. For instance, one of the our contact in the property management company that we work with, I try to find out exactly what he's interested in. And as I was networking with other folks, I got some information on what he's interested in, and I sent it to him. And he said, oh yeah, I really appreciate this. He's trying to run a marathon. And I talked to somebody that knows how to help somebody get the right shoes and everything for a marathon, the company that does all of that. And I do the introduction. I say, hey, listen, this is where you can go get your shoe fitted, and you're not going to have pains on your legs and stuff like that. He was like, yeah, that's awesome. I'm thinking about running the marathon. So this is really useful. So just different strategies that you can be
that's
human.
So important. You gotta, yes. I love that. That's that $1 million tip right there. And get to know people. Stop, just going in, hey, I want this, I need that. Why should they work with you? Yeah, you don't even know, you're wasting their time. And so you got to get to know them. That's a really good point. How do you help investors ensure their success, with the businesses, and what can they expect if they're, what do you talk to people about? Why do they work with you from an investor standpoint? From we talked about before, we talked like it's a couple different ways people can work with you.
So basically, again, it boils down to everybody wants to invest in real estate, and they want to work with somebody that they can trust and they like. Right? If people don't trust and like you, they don't do business with you. And that's why in your conversation, you want to start it early. Even people that you know or people you don't know, you want to start having conversation with them and build relationship before people will give you $50,000, right? And in order for me to make sure that they have the money they invest in our deals are secured, is we want to make sure we look for stable assets. We want to make sure that the partners that we're working with on that deal have great track record. That the asset that they choose, the location, the demographic, and a whole bunch of data-driven information supports the assumptions that we have for the investors. For instance, we say, oh, listen, we're going to give you 8% preferred return, or we're going to give you 16% internal rate of return, or whatever our projections are. We want to make sure that the market supports it, because with multifamily, everything is in the numbers, right? The income that is generated from the property is what determines how much you're able to make and how much you're able to distribute to your investors. So if you don't have a solid assets, and if your projection doesn't take into consideration a bunch of market conditions, you might screw your investors. So we put all of those things into consideration before we go into any deal and before we bring in our investors. And most importantly, our reputation is on the line. If we mess up with one investor, you have a ripple effect into the community, because this community is really small. So it takes us a long time to look for particular assets that we want to bring in our investors. Like right now, we have a 49-unit Class A building in DC, in Petworth in DC, that we're closing on. This property, we and our partners have been working on this property for the last 8 months. Wow. 8 to 9 months, right? So you can understand how long it's been that this has been on the work. So when we bring investors to this kind of deal, we've already done our due diligence, we've already done our vetting and done our research and everything before we're comfortably bringing people into such deals.
Right. So you worked on this since like last, October, November. You started working on it. Yeah.
Yep.
Right. So you got to be patient. You got to look for stuff. You got to have. How many things would you say you guys look at a month, maybe? If that's the appropriate thing. Like how many or quarter properties are your team looking at to find the one,
So it varies,
that you
right?
look at, you like.
It varies, but our underwriting goal is to try to underwrite 2 to 3 deals a week. That's our underwriting goal. Yeah. What underwriting means is because Leslie, my partner, does the underwriting. Before he goes in and even spend time to do underwriting, there are certain things that we look at immediately. Like we look at the location to make sure that it's a good location, the class of the property, does it fit the scope of what we're trying to do? And then once all those things check, before we now take it to the next phase, which is we need to get some document from the owner, rent rolls, T12, to be able to go in and do a deep dive underwriting. But a lot of properties, for instance, I can pull up my email right now. There are like a bunch of properties that a lot of different people have sent to us. But just looking at it, looking at the class of the property, the scope, the size, the price, it can be outside of our scope or underneath our scope. We don't want to underwrite it. You see what I'm saying?
Yes.
So, yes. So if it's just deal supply, we get a lot of deals every day. But we will try to underwrite 2 to 3 deals a week. Oh,
that's great. Okay. What are the type people that would be good, partners that, I don't know if it's profession, if it's income or amounts of money that, you look for people that have to be able to work with you guys?
So at this point, we're working with only accredited investors. Accredited investors is defined as somebody, individual, that's making over $200,000 or have a net worth of $1 million. Or if you're married, you're making over $300,000 as a couple. That's what's defined as an accredited investor. So we work with only accredited investors at this time in our deals.
Right. And just to add to that, the $1 million doesn't count your home equity, your home value. You got to have $1 million outside of that, and you still got to be worth that. And then,
correct.
Yeah. So it's not all three. It's one of the three.
One of the three.
That's right. One of the three. But I argue that is not as much as it used to be with inflation. So a lot of people, especially where you're at, fit that bill. People who work for the government, there are a lot of people have that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Like where we live in DC right now, an average household income, husband and wife, is over 200, 250, close to 300,000.
Yeah.
So it's not like it's hard to find. It just depending on the kind of people you surround yourself with, the kind of network that you have.
Tenny, that I didn't ask you that I should have asked you.
I think one of the things I would like to just spell out is just get started. You want to invest in real estate, start asking questions, start going out to networking events. We have a meetup here in Maryland that we host every first Monday of the month. It's called the Exciting World of Multifamily Investing Meetup and Networking. It's a great place to just, listen, even if you're not ready to take any action. Start listening to people, start learning, and then gradually, as you build your knowledge, you're going to start building confidence. And then as you build confidence, you're going to start taking action. So I always encourage people that I talk to, and if I come to podcasts, for people to just start doing something, start taking the first step.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. What I said, journey of 1,000 miles, begin with the first steps. You have to just get yourself in the environment of people that will encourage you, that like, oh, you can do this. It's not that hard,
Absolutely.
And because you hang around with your broke friends with jobs, like, oh, you can't do that. People don't make money. That's a scam. You can't get around people like that. Okay, you have to get into a group like his, right? Because your meetup right now is virtual because of as we record this, which is like in the yellow zone. This is our state with the COVID stuff, but but if you're in their area, when they open it back up, they'll do it live. So you should. So they could go to Meetup. Tell them how they would find it. At least maybe they can listen in while you're still doing it virtually.
So if you just put on Google the Exciting World of Multifamily Investing, Meetup and Networking is going to pop up. That's the only one that's on Meetup. The Exciting World of Multifamily Investing, Meetup and Networking is going to pop up. And we're on Facebook as well. It's the same thing, the Exciting World of Multifamily Investing. And of course, we have our website as well, xsitecapital.com. You can reach out, you can check us out. And if you have any question, again, you don't have to be an investor to reach out to us. If you just want to learn, you want to learn about the business, you want to learn how we started, everything, anything that we can help with. If we don't know the answers, we have a network of resources that we can tap into to try to give you the answers to some of the questions that you have. So feel free to reach out if you have any question.
Well, awesome. That's very generous. So we thank you that we both are doing this because we want to, educate people. People perish for the lack of knowledge, for vision and knowledge. And so there is a lot of ways to skin a cat. And so what you've heard today is somebody that's like, listen, I'm going to jump in. I don't even know that I could have done that. Let me go from zero to let me go multifamily. So, I mean, that is a really, mental, that's confidence and, and just, they did their homework. So if you have the homework, you'll have the confidence. So, I mean, that is awesome. You can just jump right in there. So if you've been thinking about that and, you still got people that still work, right, that are doing this. So it can be done.
Yep. I still have a full-time job. I still have a full-time job. I still have a full-time job. And the thing is, if you think about it, it's just about you opening up your mind and opening up your horizon, right? I was in Arlington the other day and I see a bunch of multifamily properties everywhere. So I asked myself, why can't I get this? Right. It's within the realm of the human grasp, right? We can actually achieve these things. You just have to open up your consciousness to know that you can do it, just like everybody else can do it. And now you need to, once you find out the desire, why you want it, the how somehow is going to happen because your mind is going to start looking for, the antenna is going to be open now, reception. Because somebody's going to speak about it, you're going to hear about it, and then before you know it, you're moving in that direction and stuff like that.
Yep, I love it. Listen, I'm going to let that be the last word because that's it. But you got to move in the direction of where you want to go. Tenny, listen, I thank you for coming on the Practical Wealth Show. We're going to put the links that he mentioned in the show notes and definitely reach out to them. They're great guys. They're happy to share. I look forward to bringing you back on, and after I want to next year, or if not before, and let's keep progress and keep educating the people on how to do this because I think that's a phenomenal. You've got examples of regular people doing extraordinary things.
Thank you, Curtis. I really appreciate you having me, and thanks for everything you do.
My pleasure. So, hey guys, so listen, like, and share. As you listen to this, we love comments, and thanks for listening to another episode of the Practical Wealth Show. Y'all go out there and make good things happen, make profits happen. All right, talk to you later, guys.
Thanks for listening to Practical Wealth. To access the show notes and resources, go to practicalwealthshow.com. To get your questions on the show, go to practicalwealthshow.com. This show is for entertainment purposes only. Before you make any investment decisions, consult a professional. This show is copyrighted by Practical Wealth. Written permission must be granted before sending